When you hear the word remote sensing, you probably think of satellite images. But have you ever wondered what actually captures all that information? Is it the satellite itself? Not exactly. A satellite is a platform that carries a sensor. And the sensor is the instrument that actually observes the Earth. But here's where things get interesting. Remote sensing sensors can be classified in different ways, and the same sensor can belong to multiple categories depending on what characteristic we are looking at. So instead of memorizing a confusing list of sensor types, let's understand the logic behind their classification. A remote sensing sensor is an instrument that detects and measures electromagnetic energy coming from a target without physically touching it. This energy may be reflected from the Earth's surface, emitted by the surface, or returned after a signal sent by the sensor interacts with the target. The sensor records this energy and converts it into data that can later be processed into images and other useful information. So, in the simplest terms, the platform carries the sensor, but the sensor is what actually observes the Earth. To understand the different types of sensors, we can ask 4 simple questions. First, where does the energy come from? This gives us active and passive sensors. Second, which part of the electromagnetic spectrum does the sensor detect? This gives us categories such as optical, thermal, and microwave. And third, how does the sensor sample the spectrum? This gives us categories such as panchromatic, multispectral, and hyperspectral. There is also another important basis of classification: the platform on which the sensor is mounted. Based on platform, sensors can be ground-based, airborne, or spaceborne. These are different bases of classification, and understanding that distinction is the key to understanding remote sensing sensors. Platform classification tells us where the sensor is operating, while the other classifications tell us different characteristics of the sensor. A sensor can therefore belong to several categories at the same time. Before we look at the source of energy, let's briefly understand the platform-based classification. Ground-based sensors operate from or near the Earth's surface and are commonly used for detailed measurements and field studies. Airborne sensors are carried by platforms such as aircraft or UAVs, and can provide detailed observations over larger areas. Spaceborne sensors are carried by satellites and can observe very large areas repeatedly. Let's start with the source of energy. Based on this, remote sensing sensors are divided into 2 major types: passive sensors and active sensors. Passive sensors detect naturally available electromagnetic energy, while active sensors generate their own energy and measure the signal that returns from the target. This is one of the most fundamental distinctions in remote sensing. A passive sensor does not generate its own energy for sensing. Instead, it detects naturally available radiation. In the visible and near-infrared regions, this is mainly reflected sunlight, while in the thermal infrared region, the sensor detects energy naturally emitted by the Earth's surface. Many familiar optical satellite systems such as Sentinel-2 and Landsat use passive sensing. Because passive optical sensors depend on reflected sunlight, observations can be affected by conditions such as darkness, clouds, and atmospheric effects. Active sensors work differently. They generate their own energy, transmit it toward the target, and then measure the energy that comes back. Radar is a classic example of an active sensor. Because the sensor provides its own energy source, active sensing does not depend on sunlight in the same way as passive optical sensing. This allows many active systems to collect observations during both day and night, and radar can also operate under cloudy conditions. Now let's look at the second basis of classification: wavelength. Different sensors detect different regions of the electromagnetic spectrum, and this determines the type of information they can observe. Sensors may operate in regions such as visible and near-infrared, shortwave infrared, thermal infrared, or microwave. This matters because the same material can behave very differently at different wavelengths. So, changing the wavelength can reveal completely different characteristics of the Earth's surface. Sensors that primarily detect reflected radiation in regions such as the visible, near-infrared, and shortwave infrared are commonly referred to as optical sensors. They are widely used because different materials have different spectral responses. Vegetation, water, soil, and buildings can therefore be distinguished using their behavior across different wavelengths. Optical sensors are commonly used for applications such as vegetation monitoring, land cover mapping, agriculture, water analysis, and urban studies. Thermal sensors operate in the thermal infrared region and detect energy emitted by objects because of their temperature. This is different from visible sensing, where we are mainly measuring reflected sunlight. Thermal data can therefore provide information about surface temperature and thermal behavior. This makes thermal sensors useful for applications such as urban heat studies, wildfire monitoring, volcanic activity, water temperature analysis, and identifying thermal anomalies. Microwave sensors operate at much longer wavelengths than optical and thermal sensors. And here's something important: microwave sensors can be either active or passive. Radar is an active microwave sensor because it transmits its own microwave signal and measures the return. Microwave observations are especially valuable because they can be collected during both day and night, and many radar systems can acquire data through clouds. This makes them useful for applications such as flood mapping, soil moisture studies, surface deformation, and vegetation monitoring. Now we come to another classification, based on how the sensor samples the electromagnetic spectrum. On this basis, we commonly talk about panchromatic, multispectral, and hyperspectral sensors. This classification is completely different from active and passive. Active and passive tell us about the source of energy, while panchromatic, multispectral, and hyperspectral tell us how the sensor divides and records spectral information. A panchromatic sensor records energy across a relatively broad wavelength range as a single band. The resulting image is usually represented as a grayscale image because there is only one broad spectral measurement. Since the sensor collects energy over a wide wavelength range, it does not provide detailed spectral information like a multispectral or hyperspectral sensor. However, panchromatic imagery is often associated with high spatial detail and can be very useful when fine-ground information is important. A multispectral sensor records information in several separate spectral bands. These bands are generally broader and fewer in number than those of a hyperspectral sensor. For example, a sensor may record information in the blue, green, red, near-infrared, and shortwave infrared regions. By comparing these bands, we can identify and analyze different surface characteristics. Sentinel-2 is a good example of a passive multispectral optical satellite sensor. A hyperspectral sensor takes spectral sampling much further. Instead of recording only a few broad bands, it can record hundreds of narrow and closely spaced bands across a continuous or nearly continuous spectral range. This provides a much more detailed spectral signature for each pixel. Because different materials can have subtle differences in their spectral response, hyperspectral data can help distinguish materials that may appear very similar in multispectral imagery. Now comes the part that students often find confusing. These classifications are not separate boxes. A single sensor can be described using more than one classification at the same time. So, when someone asks you to identify the type of a remote sensing sensor, don't just give one label. First ask, type based on what characteristic? Let's put everything together with one simple example. Suppose we take Sentinel-2. It is passive because it relies on naturally available energy, mainly reflected sunlight. It is optical because it observes wavelengths primarily in the visible near-infrared and shortwave infrared regions. And it is multispectral because it records information in multiple separate spectral bands. It is also spaceborne because the sensor is carried by a satellite. Now take a radar sensor. It is active because it generates its own signal, and it is microwave because that signal operates in the microwave region. If that radar is mounted on a satellite, it can additionally be described as spaceborne. If it is mounted on an aircraft, it is airborne. One sensor can therefore have multiple labels because each label describes a different characteristic. So here's the easiest way to remember the whole topic. Ask 4 questions. Where is the sensor mounted? Where does the energy come from? What wavelength does the sensor use? And how does it sample the spectrum? The first question gives you ground-based, airborne, or spaceborne. The second gives you active or passive. The third gives you optical, thermal, or microwave. And the fourth gives you panchromatic, multispectral, or hyperspectral. So, a remote sensing sensor is the instrument that detects and measures electromagnetic energy from the Earth's surface without direct physical contact. Sensors can be classified on different bases, and this is the most important thing to understand. Platform-based classification tells us where the sensor is mounted. Active and passive describe the source of energy. Optical, thermal, and microwave describe the wavelength region. Panchromatic, multispectral, and hyperspectral describe how spectral information is sampled. Once you understand the basis of classification, a sensor can be described using multiple labels at the same time, and remote sensing sensors become much easier to understand and remember.